All right, so I want to welcome everybody to this edition of What's Your Plan? We monthly at Assisting Hands try to talk to an industry expert about a different area of elder law and elder issues and aging in place so we can all benefit from their expertise. And this week we're really excited to have Jonathan Edenbaum. He's the owner of Eden Homes, and he'll give you a little bit more rundown on that. But basically, Jonathan has years of experience in helping people find the right place to live. And we thought he would be a great person to have to help explain housing choices and to talk about group homes, give us a little bit of information about Eden Homes as well, and then kind of compare and contrast sort of large communities to the smaller group homes. So, Jonathan, welcome. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Thank you, Steve. A lot of you know me, Jonathan Edenbaum, owner of Eden Homes of Potomac. And I've been in the industry for, well, in long-term care we opened our first home 20 years ago. I have an undergrad in psychology and a master's in healthcare administration. Worked for the large companies for many, many years, and then decided to open up my own. I just felt that a lot of things fell through the cracks, and I really enjoyed the smaller model, and I felt people got a lot of good attention. So we have 2 homes in Potomac. We're building a third, and I know a lot of the models, work for a lot of the companies, but
Good.
staying put for the next 20 years.
So, explain a little bit about, because I think, Maryland is sort of unique in its style where there you can have a smaller home. And so, what's the typical home size for these smaller group homes?
Well, there's a number of different, it depends how you want to be licensed. The typical model is 8 or less. And and people wonder why that magic number 8 comes up a lot. With 8 or less, you're still considered residential. So when you go up to 9, you have to get a special permit. So there's also a number, you can also go down to 5 where you don't even need a license, level 3 license.
Gotcha. So you mentioned level 3. So what are the levels of care that a person can have? Can I at the age of 62 move into one of your homes? Would I want to? Or what's the reason? What's the ideal reason someone moves into one of your communities?
If somebody needs, obviously they can't live at home because they can't live on their own. So if somebody needs, it's similar to a lot of the facilities, help with all your ADLs, your meal prep, want activities, but want more individualized care. And a license level 3, which is the highest acuity of assisted living, pretty much you can stay till the end of life. The only reason that you couldn't is if somebody needed IVs, obviously a ventilator, or were significant 2 to 3 to plus transfer.
Okay, so I always sort of, when I think about the spectrum of care, I think about sort of what Assisting Hands does, where we provide assistance for people that want to remain at home. And then there's these smaller group homes. And then there are these larger communities that have assisted living and memory care and things like that. So, why would someone choose to be in a smaller group home over one of the larger communities that everyone's heard of, Sunrise or Brightview or one of those places?
Well, first of all, the staffing ratio in our facilities and in a lot of them around, we have my facilities have a 1 to 2.5 ratio, 3 caregivers for 8 people. A lot of them have 2, 1 to 4. Whereas in the larger facilities, you have a much higher staffing ratio. So sometimes you have to hire private help. In our places, very rarely do you have to hire private help. Also, a lot more individualized care. So it's not as overwhelming to have 7 other people as opposed to 60 other people.
Gotcha. And so what's a typical house look like? Do people get their own bedroom? Do they have to share? Or their living rooms, dining rooms? Kind of how's the typical 8-bed home configured?
The typical it's a residential home in a community that you or I would live in. You really can't tell from the outside. Um, so in our homes, everybody has their own private rooms, their own private bedrooms. Some have private baths, some have shared baths. Um, we can do couples. That's not an issue. And it's like a regular house with a living room, dining room, family room, kitchen. You have the run of the house.
And I assume that meals are made for people. Are you taking into account people's individualized food choices, or is it just you make a meal for 8 people and how does that work?
Well, first of all, we always post the meal so everybody knows what's on the menu. If somebody wants something else, because we're only 8 people, it's easy to make something else that they would like. But before someone moves in, we also have a food like and dislike form for the family to fill out. So we know if somebody hates beets, don't give them beets. So so we're pretty familiar, and because it's only 8 residents, we know who likes what. And they'll
But you
tell
have,
us too.
oh, I'm sure of that. Would you say that that's fairly typical of the other group homes throughout Montgomery County in terms of the way they set up and look?
Yes, I would say so. For the most part, yes, I would say so. There are some that are, some that are a little lower scale, some that are middle, and some that are upper scale, just like neighborhoods.
Gotcha. So if I'm, a son or daughter of someone who's older and maybe needs to move out of their home, and I'm helping mom or dad, what are the things I should think about when I'm trying to pick? There's lots of small groups homes. There's hundreds of communities now. They seem to be sprouting up everywhere. What are the kind of things I should think about when I'm making the decision?
Certainly you should look at the staffing ratios. You should make sure the physical plant looks good. Now with COVID, it's a little hard right now, but make sure everything looks how you would like it to look. Make sure there are no smells. Make sure people look happy. And what I often tell families is they should make an unannounced visit, not just their regularly scheduled tour, to make sure they're seeing what they want to be seeing. You want to see people engaged. You want to see people smiling. It's always nice to have home cooked meals in the house. Which we have, but the smells are very important beside the food cooking. So everything's made on the premises. You really also want to, when you're looking at a house, you should also get references from families, not just talk to the staff.
And so I know some of the larger communities, they talk about all of the activities that they have. Do you have activities as well in your homes?
Yes, we do. We have activities as well. We have activities all day long. And we really try to make them stimulating, mentally stimulating. And we have an art therapist, music therapist, and we do current events. And music seems to be the key for everybody because it touches them no matter what level they're at. And during non-COVID times, we have lots of performers come in. So now we're performing. So.
Okay,
And
how's that going?
things change. It's going well. Actually, we found a lot of hidden talents in a lot of our staff, myself included.
Excellent. All right. So let's talk COVID a little bit because that's not going away anytime soon. So now I assume people aren't coming to your home necessarily. They're doing virtual visits, or can they come and see the house?
They are doing virtual visits, and we will meet outside with them. We'll meet on the deck, on the porch. We always have we have a front porch and a back deck on most of our homes. So we do, and then we do a virtual tour, just because we can't take any chances. And that's how we're visiting with families as well. Families are visiting with their residents. We have haters out there too.
Well, that was my next question. So I know, at least I've read in the paper, how, especially in the larger communities, they're locked down. So loved ones didn't get to see their loved ones for Thanksgiving or Christmas coming up. They're not getting to visit. Are you different in that regard? Do you have the same rules? Is it easier because it's a smaller home? Kind of explain to me, how do people get to stay connected with their loved ones while they're living in one of your homes?
Well, what we do in our homes is we have outside visits. Like the larger facilities, we can't let people in from the outside. Um, so we have, decks and porches. And what we do is they make an appointment to visit their family because we can only have a certain amount of people at one time. Um, and then they visit with their families outside. Even though it's cold, we have outdoor heaters. We bundle them up and usually, try and get them where the sun is. So it was a lot easier in the summertime. So, so people have managed to visit. We're also doing Skype and we're doing Zoom visits as well.
So your staff can help if I had a loved one living in one of your homes and we wanted to do a FaceTime thing and they're not capable of using a computer, you all could help arrange that.
Oh, yes, we set it right up. And one of our staff usually stays with them just in case there are any technical difficulties.
Gotcha. So now I know obviously it's a little bit of a biased question because you own and run smaller group homes, but kind of tell me, what are the reasons people would consider moving to one of the larger communities over a smaller group home?
Sure. And not every model is for everyone. So I should emphasize that. They might move to a larger place if they want to have much more socialization. Let's say they're much higher functioning and they want a strew of friends and they want a large dining room where people they can socialize with, as opposed to just 7 people. So that might be that's usually a good reason why people could. But I think, it's all in the staffing ratio, I think, and the ability of socialization and the level of where the resident or potential resident is at. So.
Gotcha. And so do you have, or maybe in group homes generally, are there some that are targeted towards maybe people that need more physical help or versus having more cognitive issues, or are people just kind of mixed together? What's the general way it works?
People are usually mixed together. Usually the cognitive and the physical sort of go hand in hand. But a lot of times, we can, it just depends on the individual. But certainly in the smaller homes, at least in my homes, I would say, everybody has, and I shouldn't generalize this, but we've noticed that some form of dementia where it's very early stages and you can't even tell versus people aging in place. So that's the kind of folks that we see. So a mix, and sometimes the higher functioning bring up the lower functioning, and the lower functioning, really enjoy that and they rise to the occasion. And I have many examples of that. We have many wonderful situations where that's happened.
Gotcha. And so, how do people, let's say I'm a son, I've got an aging parent, and I've got to figure out what to do. I try to make the choice. Do they stay at home? Do I help them make a decision to move somewhere? How do I get help? How do I find group homes? I mean, there's got to be hundreds of them. How do I know? How do I pick the right one? What's the best way to figure this all out?
Well, one of which is you can always go to a life care manager. They're a good referral source, and they can sum up the situation and give you a few places to look at. That also helps. There's a list in Montgomery County. You can always get that from Department of Aging of licensed group homes. And also there's a wonderful thing called the Source Book, which has a number of smaller assisted livings listed there.
Gotcha.
Oh, yeah. And then you start visiting and inquiring.
So, you mentioned care managers as people that can help out. So my understanding of care managers is they are paid by the family, but then I've also know that there are places like a place for mom, or I think it's Care Patrol, where those folks will help find a place, but they're paid by the community. Do you participate with any of those people? Do group homes participate with them? And sort of how's that work?
Group homes do, and yes, we do. Um, so they're sort of like care managers, but they come and everybody's different. So every company is a little different. Some people really are hands-on with the family and really know the needs. Some people just give them a list and tell them to go look at this place. So we participate in all of them, and we do pay a commission, but it's also a good screening tool. So, the folks that know us know what we can handle and know who would be a good fit, and for the other communities as well.
Gotcha. And are there homes that are, if you have really complex medical needs, are there group homes that specialize more in sort of super needy people versus, the general population? Or is it everybody can handle everybody?
You've got to pick your mix. You can't have a whole house full of people that are with total care, because your staff just wouldn't be able to handle it. So I'd say, me personally, we will take a few people who are heavier care than people who are lighter care, just so we have the mix and everybody gets the attention they need. A lot of places might just take anybody, whereas we're pretty selective who we'll take, because we want it to be success all around.
Gotcha. And so, without putting you on the spot for pricing, what's the range of pricing for, sort of group homes versus, and if the larger communities? I mean, what can people expect to spend per month at these various options?
So the range, on the low end, around 4,000 a month, being some facilities. On the higher end, it can be 15,000 a month. It all depends on, what you're looking for, the staffing, the glitz, whether you want a fancy place, you want a more middle of the road place, or you want just a bed and meals. So I think it all depends on that. The larger places, they range, from sevens till about, 15 to 17. Same thing. You got to figure out what you're looking for, what they're offering. So again, it all depends on if you want a large apartment. Do you want all types of services, or do you want more, care is more important than the physical environment. So,
Gotcha. And so I know, I was talking to a family the other day. They're one of our clients, but they're contemplating, should they move their dad to a community. And the dad is capable of participating, and he's engaged, but they were sort of bewildered because it seemed like some of the communities, you have to buy everything. So it's not just here's what it is. It's $4,000 a month or $5,000 a month. It's, oh, you need medicine administration. Oh, that's another. You want 3 meals a day. Oh, that's another. Is there a rule of thumb? Should you stay away from places that kind of have a gazillion different fees, or is it it's just a different model?
It's a different model, and it all depends on, do you want to know what your bill is going to be at the end of the month? For our models, we do an all-inclusive price. So it's no matter how much care or how little care you need. There are a couple little extras, but that's right up front. A lot of places do that. It's mostly the larger places that do that, but the smaller ones, as far as I know, the ones that I know, and I know most of them, we're all pretty much an all-inclusive price.
Gotcha. So again, it's pretty much buyer beware. Just figure out, ask questions, make sure you understand, so that you understand if there are any fees.
Right.
So, okay. So a couple of questions from the chat. I think you mentioned it at the beginning, but how many homes does Eden Homes have?
So Eden Homes has two, and we're building a third.
Okay, and when do you expect the third one? Do you have any idea? Is it
We're
regulatory?
hoping early spring.
Okay, and if I recall correctly, you have probably one of the few homes that is an all kosher home.
We do. We have one of our homes is a kosher home in Potomac on Gainsborough Road. It's in a nice community, very welcoming community, but it's also non-sectarian. We have people, don't have to be Jewish to be there. We have people
Gotcha.
that aren't Jewish that just like the house, but
Okay,
the fact is that we have a chef there and it is a kosher kitchen. So, and we follow the dietary laws.
gotcha. And so, how are residents welcomed in? When they're onboarded in, now it's probably much harder to have a new resident come in. But how are they welcomed in? And the other question along with that is there sort of a theme to each home?
I wouldn't say there's necessarily a theme. People are welcome. Our residents are very welcoming to each other. So we just had a resident move into one of our homes. Actually, it was the kosher home, and the staff, of course, give them a lot of TLC, a lot of introduction, and she just felt at home right away. I mean, she's already made friends. People are chatting with her. If she's late for the table, they're all looking for her. So we engage people in activities quickly. So you come right in and we start off, into activities. So you really can break the ice and make people feel welcome. And again, it's not a huge group, so you're not overwhelmed.
Gotcha. And so with COVID, I've heard, it's across the board. Some communities, you basically come in and you're stuck quarantined in your room for 2 weeks, where they bring you your meals, you're not allowed out. Others, you have to have a COVID test, but you're quarantined for a couple of days. How does it work at Eden Homes?
Well, what we do is that's a good question. So what we do is we do on a new admission, we do a COVID test on assessment, and then we do another COVID test right before they move in. So, and they have to have a negative before they move in. We don't isolate, we don't quarantine, because I think it's just too hard on them. New place and then being sort of set in your room, not being able to come out. So, and our nurse observes them carefully. Temperatures are checked several times a day, and obviously sanitizing and face masks and all that.
Gotcha. All right. That's great to know, because I know at Assisting Hands, we've actually been hired by families to be part of the transition team where someone's moved into a larger community, but they are sort of segregated to their room for the first week, and family can't come in. So they need help unpacking, getting settled, getting organized, and then, sort of being with them for a week. And so sort of unusual for us to be doing that, but we've been asked to do that. It's great that you've figured out a way to onboard people quickly without having that hard part of isolation.
Right. Yeah, new place, not unfamiliar people. It's tough.
And you mentioned a nurse, so you have a nurse on staff.
Yes, and we have a nurse on staff, an RN, and she's on call 24/7. She's my business partner, Terry Ship, and she's on. She lives right in the neighborhood, and when she's off, we have a nurse that covers for her. So, and we also have doctors that come in as well.
All right, so those were the questions in chat. I don't know if anyone has any questions. Certainly feel free to open up your mic and ask Jonathan or I any questions you have. All right, well, hearing none. Jonathan, thank you for joining today. This was super helpful. It really gave me in particular a great understanding of group homes and the Eden Homes concept in particular. So I thank you for your time, and I thank all of you that listened in today, and we look forward to you joining us for the next What's Your Plan, which will be in a month from now.
Thank you, Steve.
All right, bye-bye all.